So I think last time we talked a little bit on awareness. Everyone can hear me okay? Yeah. Okay. So last time I think we talked about awareness. One of the main methods to develop awareness is through samden. Samden in Sanskrit, dhyana, translated to Tibetan is called samde. Someday is more like stable mind, right? Uh, Sambatimbo, maybe something like that. So something stabilization of the mind is mainly focused on the development of single pointed concentration. And I mean, there are different methods, of course, to develop single pointed concentration. We will be talking about that later. But in regards to something uh, shamatha, as they call it, dhyana, or you can call it shamatha as well. Uh, Shamatha concentrates, focuses mainly on the uh, nine methods of stabilization of the mind. So we'll go through that also. And in regards to what it does, I think we'll also talk about that later on. But mainly the main importance is, of course, development of the mind to be able to concentrate, to be able to focus, to be able to stabilize the mind. So we're always talking about the mind being like a sort of ocean, right? Vast ocean. The thing about this example is quite good because in the ocean many creatures live, and on the surface of the ocean many what we say boats and so on and so forth can move on the ocean. But in order for the species within the ocean and the and things on top of the ocean for them to move or for them to exist, the ocean needs to be stable. Yeah, without a stable ocean, it's when it's rough and tough and moving like this, then everything on the top gets destroyed and everything inside also gets destroyed. Yeah, so we don't want that. And so main thing is that. Now, other unique thing about shamatha is at the beginning, the main reason for shamatha to start with, I think at the beginner's level, the main reason for shamatha, the practice of shamatha, is developing calmness, because with calmness comes what do we say? Comes wisdom. So shamatha, something, and or something in sharap, something is shamatha and sharap is wisdom. So something and sharap go very well together. Without something, without shamatha, what do we say? Sharap, wisdom cannot prevail. This one, as normally we experience in our everyday life, when our mind is not happy, when we are what do we say, filled with sadness, when we are filled with anger, when we are filled with hatred, then normally our what do we say, ability to what do we say, contemplate, it doesn't come. So normally when we are angry, and most reactions, when the anger is there and the mind is not stable, then most reactions are out of anger. So that's when the punching and the kicking and the biting happened, right? then, then before that, when I mean, after that, when the mind starts to calm down, then we start to question our actions, and then we think, why did I punch? Why did I bite? Why did I kick? Why did I kill? So on and so forth. So, uh, because of that, at the beginner's level, shamatha, the practice of shamatha, what it does is it helps in calming the mind, so that we can more wisely use the ability that we have of wisdom, right? right? So that would be at the beginner's level. The second one would be once we have overcome the ability once we have built the ability to be calm through the practice of the beginner's shamatha, then the second point of shamatha is to utilize the wisdom. So now calmness, once calmness comes, if there's no wisdom, then it's just calmness. It's there's no utilization. And I think this method has been used a lot in modern world nowadays. They don't focus on the second and third level of shamatha. They only focus on the first one, and then after that they think, okay, now I'm sort of like free. But in reality, it's not just about avoiding the problem. Avoiding the problem is, I think, the first stage, but the second stage is always working with the problem. How do I solve the problem? How do I solve suffering, so on and so forth? So that always comes on the second level, right? So that is there. So it's not just to calm the mind, it's also to build our ability to utilize wisdom. So that would be the second one. And then the third one, of course, imprinted by the mind of the bodhisattva or the bodhicitta mind, then comes great ability to utilize shamatha to its fullest, by the, what we say, by the intention of liberating all sentient beings from the existence of samsara, and through the through liberation of the existence of samsara, bringing, what we say, peace and joy. And that also, not just the mindset, but also the courage, and not just the courage, but also the intention. And through that intention and courage, the, what we said, the building of the self confidence in achieving enlightenment yourself. So now utilizing it not just to calm the mind, not just to solve the problem, but taking on the responsibility to solve the problem of samsara uh, by yourself, and then focusing on achieving enlightenment, because that's the only method, right? So that would be the third stage of it. So based on these three stages, the practice of shamatha begins. Yeah. Now, shamatha or danya paramita, dhyana paramita, generally, what we say, focus. Dhyana is more like, yeah, meditation focus. So this one, the develop was it the definition is based on the core practice of it, which is development of mental stability and insight. Mental stability, concentrating on the mind, focus, so on and so forth, and then insight, also utilization of the awareness, right? So as we say, clear and knowing is the definition of the mind. So clear, in reality, in its own nature, in the true nature of the mind is very clear. But then, because we say obscurations, we always put the example of the mind like the sky. The sky is normally very clear, but then the cloud obscuration from time to time. So similarly, the clearness of the nature is, in order to then, when we practice shamatha, we build on that side, we build the mental what is stability, and then knowing is the utilization of the wisdom. So that's where we develop the insight, right? So definition, development of, what do we say, mental stability and insight. So through that, there is calm abiding, shamatha. I mean, the method to do this, there's two different methods. For the first one, always shamatha, calm abiding, and then second one would be vipassana, which would be insight meditation. Um, Now, in regards to practice, vipassana practice has become very, very, very well known in the world nowadays, I think, because a lot of people, where are you going? I'm going to vipassana practice. Where are you going? I'm going to vipassana practice. But then I think the practice, the utilization of the practice of the vipassana always has to come after shamatha. And the introduction of shamatha has never, I don't think it's as large as the introduction of vipassana. So that one also important. We'll go through those as we progress. So so like I said, at the beginner stage, it always starts with meditation on it always starts with meditation on calmness, because calmness is what builds your ability to what we say, to tame the mind to a certain point, right? When you're unable to tame the mind, then you can't teach the mind different tricks. Same like what we say, same like a guard dog or something like that. When you have a dog, if you don't tame the dog and the dog is always biting and barking, then you cannot teach it new tricks. So in order to teach it new tricks, we always need to the first stage is always taming. So I think that's where the practice of meditation happens, right? The second point of meditation in regards to shamatha is also in regards to developing what we say, habitual practice in regards to the mind. So I always say the mind is exactly same as the body, just like our body, building what we say, practice out of habituality, right? So the right hand and the left hand, same example that I use. If you are able to utilize your practice on your left hand as much as you are doing on your right hand, then your ability to write with your left hand also grows. And this one, I'm sure we have all seen that, people who have strokes, right side strokes in their body. Once they have the strokes, then they have no choice but to start writing with their left hand. And once they start writing with their left hand, then their handwriting, their ability to write with their left hand slowly gets better and better and better and better. So it's about habit. So the same thing happens with the mind as well. It's about habit. The practice of the 9 stages of shamatha also help in building that exact same habit. Yeah. So through these points, I think we talk about the benefits, then we talk about the common obstacles. Of course, I think the common obstacles in regards knowing is important, but then not too focused. I think one thing about practice is uh, they are informations. Yeah, all the teachings in regards to practice. There's a lot of informations. Then wisdom, application of wisdom. We lack the application of wisdom when it comes to application of practice. So we focus solely and very deeply on a single thing, and some of those things are not very useful for us and not necessary, because our mind has already overcome them through experience, through learning, through whatever it may be. So the application of wisdom is very important in regards to understanding, okay, how do I utilize the practice of shamatha in regards to, you know not in the general terms, but in my mind is working in this way, then do I need to apply this and this and this and this, or do I maybe just apply this and this instead of applying all three of them, so on and so forth. So this has to be there as practitioners, I think, right? So yeah, mainly focusing on that. So keep in mind the three different levels of the practice of shamatha. Important thing, three different levels: the beginner's level, the intermediate level, and the ultimate level. The ultimate level of utilization of shamatha, or the benefit of shamatha, practicing shamatha, the stabilization, and the application of the wisdom, the ability to apply wisdom. These two come in all grounds. So on the final level of practice of shamatha, shamatha is utilized. The what we say, the fruit, or the what we say, result of shamatha is utilized throughout the path and ground, throughout the tantric path, throughout the 10 bhumis, so throughout the stages of the path of practice towards enlightenment. So shamatha is used in all of those stages. So because of that, there is also the different, what do we say, categories of application of shamatha. So now, um, when we talk about benefits, of course, cultivating mental stability is one of them. The reason cultivating mental stability is important is, again, a very important point, especially in a fast-paced moving world that we are in right now. Uh, what used to happen in months now can happen in hours. So because it's so fast paced, and the world has become so small. Yeah, think about a few hundred years ago, to 300 years ago, we wouldn't be communicating around the world like we are right now. So the world also has become very okay. So um, yeah. So um, what was it? uh, yeah, cultivating mental clarity is very important, because now we have so many more things to be worried about. There's more things to contemplate about. There's more things. And if we know our social structure, especially legal social structure, then you need to pay your bills, you need to pay that, pay this, and because of the payment you need work and that and this. So now, even though everything has become shrunk down, even though time has become now, in some stages, you can call it what you call time in a shortage sort of thing. uh, Even though all of this is there, we hardly have any time to practice. So, because our concentration, I think the world, when you come to world, it's all about validation. It's all about proving. It's all about, competing with each other. It's all about that. Then we hardly have time for ourselves, especially our mental, what we say, our mental wellness, our mental, what we say, development in some ways, right? So we hardly have time for that. And because we hardly have time for that, then the application of being able to utilize whatever time we have in order to give towards the what we say, mental clarity, that time, because it has become very short. And now it's all about investing. So practice is also about investing time, investing finance, and investing what we say, knowledge, or investing uh, one's own wisdom, right? So this is investment. In the business world, the same thing happens. It's all about investment. Either you invest your money into, to make more money, or you invest your time to make money, or you invest your knowledge to make money. So this has become the main focus, of course, in regards to investments. So now we need to learn to invest some of our time, some of our whatever we have, in order, to, on this side as well, on the mental side as well. The thing is, we are, what do we say, we are stuck with our mind. No matter what, we can't escape it, right? We are stuck with it, from the time of birth to the time of death. And then if we believe in next life, then of course next life also we are stuck with it. We are stuck with our mind. So the period of the time that we spend with our mind is very, 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 very long. In the Buddhist theory, it's all the way until enlightenment. So now we have so much time with our mind, but barely any time to give to the development side of our mind. The development side of our mind. We hardly have any time for that. So now, if we hardly have any time for the development side of our mind, then we are spending so much time with ourselves, with our mind, but then our mind is not developed to the fullest potential. Yeah, its potential is unlimited. There's so much potential in it, but because we can't invest our time, we can't invest our knowledge, we can't invest our our what is the money or whatever it may be to that, then what happens is, then we get, what do we say, sort of like, it's like I think, similar to what we say, relationships that don't work. You live together, but then you hardly have any time together. Then of course you're going to sort of start to become apart. You're parting away because you don't invest time, right? Same thing happens with anything in our daily life as well. The moment even friends, yeah, even if you're really, really, really good friends, let's say you and me, very good friends, we spend our time together, we talk, we chat, we go for dinner, we go to that, we go to this. But then later on, slowly, one person goes here, one person moves there, then maybe the time starts to, the time spent together starts to limit, and slowly as it goes less and less, then the further away each other grow, right? So same thing happens with our relationship with our mind, right? So because of that, our ability to synchronize with our mind sort of like becomes less and less and less and less. And this is what's happening nowadays. So, a lot of people have a problem with identification nowadays because they don't know what to identify themselves as anymore because they're no more in tune with themselves. And that's also happening a lot in the world nowadays. um, People now they go around. I wouldn't call it madness, but then in some sense, there are people who claim to be dogs, there are people who claim to be furnitures, there are people who claim all kinds of sorts of things, which in reality it's sad, very, very, very sad. You're not you have that connection with yourself, but then because of the lack of identification, the what do we say, the separation has happened too long, then they have no what do we say, no link with who they really are. In some sense, they don't know how, they depend on external validation so much, and they depend on self validation in the sense that they get, some, what do we say, approving, they get some sense of comfort from other people, they get noticed in some way, so that becomes more important than being in connection with your mind. So then the separation happens. So in that sense, cultivating mental clarity becomes very, 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 very important in identifying yourself, not just identifying yourself, but then also building up your ability to what do we say, invest your time, your money, and your knowledge into building this connection between you and your mind, right? So this becomes important. Second one, of course, developing concentration. So concentration, again, in the same sense, is developed through time. Of course, one thing that can help boost your ability of concentration is, of course, motivation, because just like we went through the last what we say, the last mm, the last course, uh, uh, joyful effort is developed through that. So because joyful effort comes through the method of what we say, uh, um, uh, motivation, therefore the mindset, right, the early stages of the mindset when it comes to practice becomes very important in that sense. So of course, cultivating mental, what's it, not cultivating, developing concentration starts happening with that. But of course, the main, what I'm saying is the main progress of that, if you can have the right mindset at the beginning, then that the development of concentration can happen faster. We're always looking for faster, easier, cheaper, better, everything. So in that sense, if you want to boost your practice, especially in regards to developing shamatha, one of the main thing is you need a right intention, you need the right motivation, you need the right what we say, concentration, you need the right thing that can motivate you into the practice, and that it becomes very important. So of course, develops, what we say, developing concentration becomes a part of it. Then another thing is, without the ability to developing concentration and cultivating clarity, without these two, then what happens is we cannot utilize the knowledge and the wisdom that is provided to us, especially in regards to dharma, the, what we say, inside the text of the teachings of the Buddha, because it it is necessary to have clarity, mental clarity, and then also concentration in order to understand what has been taught fully. Therefore, the realization of true nature of reality, realization of the three principal aspects of the path only come through that concentration, and therefore it's important again to develop what do we say, develop mental stability and insight in order to what do we say, to the insight into reality, to understanding reality, right? So that is again important points to why the cultivation of shamatha becomes extremely important. The thing about us is whatever we do, there's always obstacles, right? Whether it be this, whether it be that, the more we tend to focus on wanting to do something, the more obstacles tend to happen. So, I want to do something today, then because my mind is set for that and I set out to do that, I get ready, this, then, obstacles tend to happen, all especially in regards to Dharma, of course, obstacles always happen. But then, even in our daily chores, obstacles tend to happen. That's when our mind is more focused on having it done. And because our mind is more focused on having something done, then, we also see the possibilities, the more possibilities of it not happening as well, and therefore we call those obstacles. So same thing happens in practice as well. So there's always obstacles, and in regards to obstacle, panja, what do we say, panja, the five, what is it, the hindrance, yeah, you call it the five hindrance or something like that, I think. This one becomes, I think, general, sort of like a general obstacle, the five hindrances. So in regards to that, of course, we have what we say, sensory desires. Sensory desire is related to our senses, the five senses, especially the five senses. That one, people call it obstacle, but in some sense it's less an obstacle, because if you know how to utilize the five senses, then it doesn't become an obstacle. It becomes more of a, what do we call, sort of like a helping hand. So just knowing that you can utilize, in regards to the sensory desire, you can actually utilize. Now when you call it desire, then of course maybe it can be it turns into obstacle. But in reality, I think if you don't call it desire and if you call it the five senses, then you also see the possibility of utilizing these five senses in regards to your practice. So we normally use that as well. Nowadays, very, very common, where you have a yoga mat where you can sit still, then your backside is lifted so that your what is spine is aligned and you feel more relaxed. Then of course you have some incense burning on the side, or some what do you call, uh, oil, essential oil burning on the side. Then you have maybe a singing bowl, then a gong, bang, right? So you're utilizing the senses in order to develop that concentration. So that also there. So like I said, utilization is there already happening. But how useful it is also still a question, because utilization comes not in the sense through utilization in creating something outside, but utilization in whatever exists already inside. That's, I think, the real utilization. Right. So if you want to create the what we say, the space, the necessary space in order to focus, then of course that is utilization, but that is utilization of the creation, right? That one, if you have a what with a singing ball in your house, always ringing, dung, 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 and that helps you concentrate, doesn't mean if I leave you in the middle of the traffic jam that you will be able to concentrate, right? So like I said, utilization is different, a little bit different. So again, just to make clear, it's also dependent on a specific person on how to utilize or what can be utilized, right? So that is always there. Then we talk about ill will. Ill will is sort of like desire in some sense, in the mental sense. So that one is also there. Then they call it what, temper, right? Not temper. temper or something like that. Then of course restlessness and worry, that's another thing. Restlessness and worry, I think very strongly connected with sumiji namdo, which is what we say, namdo is like what is the word, like your mind making up, always making up things, worried about things that are not necessarily need to worry about. Then of course they also, in the five hindrance also includes, I think the last one is doubt, I think. Yeah, so doubt, yeah, last one is doubt. So doubt, I try to tell people that doubt is not necessarily bad. We think doubting is bad, but then of course in regards to trust, then doubting is bad, right? If I fully trust you and then I start doubting you now, then that can lead to something, you know but then when it comes to practice, when it comes to the dharma, doubt is always good. Doubt is where the journey actually starts, right? Doubt is when you actually start asking questions. Doubt is when you actually take the necessary steps in order to understand more. So there's also doubt not necessarily bad, but in regards to focus, in regards to developing of concentration, in regards to what do we say, mental development, especially in the stages of concentration, then doubt can be a little bit of a hindrance, because there you are unable to focus on a certain thing. So if you want to develop, what do we say, uh, clarity, doubt is useful. But then if you want to develop what is the concentration, then doubt can be a little bit of an obstacle. So I like, again, even within the five hindrances, I think there are things, when you're utilizing in the practice of shamatha, because there's two parts of shamatha. One is the mental stability side, one is the insight side, right? So when it comes to mental stability side, then you look at doubt as an obstacle. But when it comes to the insight side, then you don't use doubt as an obstacle. You use doubt as actually what do we say, sort of like a helpful tool in order to develop the insight, in order to develop the wisdom, right? So that is there, of course. When it comes to what do we say, when it comes to the sensory desire, then uh, especially in regards to practice, we utilize the sensory desires in order to contemplate, right? So of course, contemplation of the body is very important, because in order to be able to concentrate, your body needs to be relaxed. Your body needs, you can't be, if I just came out of a fire and my skin is burnt, and someone and my guru comes to me and says, practice shamatha, that's going to be very, very, very hard. Not going to be easy. Maybe some practitioners who have developed their, what do we say, their mindset may be able to do it. But then me as as a normal human being, who has a very, very strong reaction to especially to burned body, my ability to practice goes down. Um I think there used to be in the early times in India, when there were many kingdoms and many different practice methods. Shamatha was one of the most prevalent, sort of like most well-known practices, Shamatha and Vipassana. And therefore, in those days, I think in regards to practice, there were practices where you actually sit on very discomforting places in order to develop concentration. Some sit on like nail, what do you call, cushion sort of thing. Not cushion, cushion is soft, but nail, whatever you call it, you want to call it. So, you know, uh, they have nails sticking up and you need to sit on it and try to concentrate. So there was that kind of practice was there. Another type of practice was in regards to heat. So they go on top of a hill, like especially on top of a rock, where the sun can shine the whole day, where the sun heats the whole day, and then they sit in a certain position and then they start concentrating. no matter how much how much heat the sun produces, they try to. So this is extreme methods of practice, I think. Buddha was well known for the 6 year, what do you say, 6 year meditation as well. That's also one of the methods that Buddha saw that was kind of useless. After 6 years, he had only bones and skin left, and he couldn't concentrate. Uh, that's when he figured out that's not the method to 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 achieve enlightenment. So that was also there. So many examples like that. Some also used to even nail beds. I think they have beds that were made out of nails, so they sleep on it. So these practices are there in regards to sort of like sensory concentration sort of thing, but these I think a little bit too extreme. And the thing about dharma is never go to the extremes, and there's always the middle way, the middle path. This is why the middle path becomes a very, very important. Even in practice, don't go to extreme, because that can lead to to what we say disillusion of what you can achieve. Yeah. So contemplation of the body, in regards to the senses, in regards to, so this is I think what we normally do when we do daily meditation. We start with scanning. They call it scanning the body, right? You sit down. First is the breath, then you start scanning your body. You start scanning your feelings, you start scanning your thoughts, your motivations, your views, so on and so forth. You start scanning your body in the sense that it's sort of like. So anyway, this method that we normally do in regards to practice, this can be utilized as developing, of course, developing focus. Then what we say also in regards to different senses, when we are breathing, of course we can utilize the breath. Smell as well, the more delicious the smell is, then the more we want to breathe in. Right. If I leave you next to the was a rubbish dump, and I say to concentration, then we don't want to take the breath in, right? Using our mouth like this. So it helps, in some sense it does help in developing that as well. Then also in regards to eating as well, I think there's a practice in regards to eating. What is stabilization of eating, because when the desire of the taste, our taste bud becomes very strong, and even when we are full, we still want to put more into our mouth. So that also can be a practice in regards to stabilizing, not to be too attached to what we put in our mouth, especially in regards to the what we say what do we say um, conventional side of it, right? So the conventional side of it, understanding the idea of its existence, its momentary existence, the pleasure, as well as the full feelingness, because first when you're eating and you're very delicious, the taste is very good, then we start also gorging. Then the more we put, the more our stomach starts to feel full, and then you get to a point where that until then it's okay, there's a lot of pleasure in it, but then you get to a point where our stomach starts to hurt. And then I think there was this competition once in America in regards to drinking water or drinking something. So anyway, first is okay, one glass, okay, two glass, okay, three glass, okay. Then after that, you get to a certain point, then your stomach starts to react. Then they call it what is it, poisoning of water or something like that. We can never imagine how can we ever get poisoned by water, but it happens. Right? Then dizziness, then vomiting, then sickness, then also death. I think that did happen as well. This So anyway, so coming back to the point, what I'm saying is in regards to the practice of the sensory deprivation of the sensory desires, there's also a practice in regards to that as well. So also being utilizing what we say, utilizing wisdom in that. Then of course, uh, good friendship. Yeah, friendship has a lot to do with desire. So we need to be able to define between desirey friendship and what we say, genuine sincere friendship. So these two are also different. If I come to you because I always desiring that comfort, that that friendship, that need to be close, that need to be authenticated, that need to be given love and care, and that becomes a point, then I think that also lack of that also happens nowadays a lot, because society separation to a point where everyone is so focused on their own life, and they are so what we say, aware, and so what we say, protective of themselves and their family, that nowadays this grouping doesn't happen so much. And even if that happens, then it happens at parties and stuff like that, where people are half drunk or unaware. So so in order to be able to focus in regards to a healthy friendship, that's what we call it, right? Unhealthy friendship and healthy friendship. Unhealthy friendship normally in regards to desire, the want, the need, so some people, I think, experience this. First they become friends, then one friend just regards, okay, I have a friend now. The other person starts relying on the friend, always calling, oh, can I do this, can I do that, do you want to go together here, there. First it's okay, but to a point, then it becomes sort of like a desire friendship, and that can turn into a little bit of a, what we say, sort of like unhealthy friendship, right? This happens a lot. So nowadays in Japan, you can rent a friend for a day. Eh? Have you heard about that? So so now they can't even trust their real friends. They need to go out to rent a friend for a day. Yeah, and he's just a friend for a day. He listens to you, he talks to you, then from tomorrow you don't know him at all. So that is there as well. So this in regards to also building, what we say, that relationship between friends. And especially, I think, important to know that the most reliable ones, especially in regards to friendship. Uh, in the Dharma, they talk about spiritual friendship, or in real words, we call it Sangha. Right? Sangha, nowadays, we use it to describe, I mean, it differs. On the Bodhisattva's path, Sangha is focusedly on Bodhisattva. Unless you are a Bodhisattva, you are not a Sangha. So on the Bodhisattva's path, Sangha means a Bodhisattva, right? On on our normally nowadays used sort of word, Sangha is Novik person, a monk or a nun. We call it Sangha. But in true translation, Sangha means togetherness, and togetherness is the relation of also in Nepali word we say. Nepali is very I think closely related to Pali as well, so we have that word sangai, sangaism. Sangai means together. Yeah, so sangai, okay, so sangha comes from the exact same word sangha, sangai. So anyway, coming back to the same point, what I'm saying is the concept of sangainess, or the togetherness, that is in Dharma terms regarded as a Dharma friend, right? A person who you can practice Dharma together, Sangha, right? So again, different stages, or different terms used in different stages, but um, ultimately Sangha means togetherness, right? So building good spiritual friendship becomes again an antidote in regards to not being what we say, letting go to the desireness of a friendship, right? Then of course awareness of how we speak. Yeah, the words that we use, this one is a part of it as well. And this one, I think, quite in regards to understanding reality, is it's quite important, because the words we use develop comes out of the intention. So most likely, if you if we use a bad word, then we already see that there is some kind of bad intention in it. So I mean, like I said, this is, you don't take this as an ultimate what is a form of practice, because there's always different uh, some people use bad words when they care more, so there's difference in that, but just a categorization that is there. So then comes, I think, the what do we say, desire. Then is ill will, right? Ill will, thought, the will not being, anyway. So that one, in regards to that, then of course we need to practice loving kindness meditation. We call it mata, right? So that one is also there. Then practicing forgiveness. We did talk about forgiveness as well in one of the sessions, I think. Also becomes a antidote to being able to bypass the ill willness. Then wise reflection. That's also an important part. Always being wise when it comes to always utilizing utilizing your potential of seeing the what do we say, the what do we say, the purity of practice in regards to whatever you do. So wise reflection, and then also consideration of karma. So if you are a believer in karma, then consideration of karma becomes extremely important, because karma is always in regards to cause and condition, reflection, thought, motivation, whatever it is, that always produces something, right? So that taking that into consideration is important, also, because uh, I'm not sure, maybe in the Western world it also happens. But in the Sherpa community, it happens because most Sherpas, even if they don't know, what do we say, even if they don't know much Dharma and they haven't studied, they, always money, 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 right? What do we say, reciting money all the time, chanting money all the time. Even if that's the lack of knowledge is there, but then, because I think maybe because family Buddhist sort of like influence sort of thing, and there's always this, say when the kid is trying to kill an animal, then you say, uh, it's bad karma, right? So the intention is already set there, where you look at karma and you say, okay, doing something is bad because there's going to be a bad result based on that. So like I said, even if the wisdom is not there, then the intention, the intention is set in that sense. So again, coming back to the utilization of the what do we say, the view of, or the knowledge of how karma, cause and condition works, then I think comes back to wise reflection, which is also in regards to understanding uh, what is destructive emotions and what harm destructive emotions bring to us. Now, that is also an important point to bypass, what do we say, the concept of ill will. Then, when it comes to temper, when it comes to laziness, when it comes to not being able to be active, then starting point is always light meditations, or they call it light visualizations, right? So starting light is very important. Then comes also, because when your mind is very dull, when you cannot express, when you cannot focus, when you cannot do this, then uh, uh, I always say walking meditation starts to become important, right? We Going into the jungle, receiving fresh air, seeing greenery. That helps in relaxing our mind. That helps in relaxing, or bringing back the point of concentration in that sense. So that also becomes a point. And then also, in regards to taking care of our body, then proper diet and exercise also becomes important, because how we feel also expresses in regards to our practice as well, right? So if you're healthy, if you're well, if then the practice can go better. If you're able to do something, then practice can go better. It's always the same. I think it's the same idea as, if you want to help someone who's drowning, then you need to be able to swim. So same concept. If you want to practice, then you need to have the right body and the right mind to practice as well. So proper diet and exercise becomes extremely important also. Then inspiration, like I said, is always the core of practice. So inspiration also becomes important. Then adjusting your timing, right? Like we started this session, we are talking about how we have the lack of timing. We don't have the. I mean, one thing is, if you do have your whole day cleared out and you don't have anything to do, then I think you are in the, what do we say, sort of like a precious human rebirth. Yeah, where you can actually really apply your time and your ability and your investment into development of dharma or practice. But if you don't have that, if you have a busy day, if you have schedule, if you have work, if you have 10 things to worry about, then then you need to set aside time. You need to set aside time for yourself. You need to set aside some people say, if I'm setting time for myself, that means watching a movie, going to relax, maybe going for a massage, maybe going to a spa. That is time for myself. And if you say, but how about meditation? Oh, no, 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 that's dharma, time for dharma. So this separation of that as well, right? So this, I don't think, is the right means, because like I said, when it comes to mental wellness, focus, not just focus on the pleasurable parts, focus on pleasurable parts is, you are giving time to desire, you are giving time to, why, dopamine, right, they call it. Mental chemicals that our body produce in order to give our mind some sense of satisfaction, which is very momentary. So you're giving time to that, and that one, it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse, right? So instead of that, if you give time to meditation, concentration, breathing, relaxing, focusing, these are real developments. I mean, real utilization of your time in regards to, you know, what do we say, me time, my time, right? So, real utilization of my time, I think, happens there. Sorry. So, at the beginning level of shamatha practice, breath awareness, body scanning, simplification, I think, is also one point which we did talk about. I think one of the last sessions, simplification, especially in regards to your daily life, that is also, I think, the beginner's part of shamatha. Then regular practice, if you have time, then of course utilization of your time based on how you want. But then if you don't have time, then regular regulations in regards to giving your time to practice, so schedule sort of thing. Then of course ethical living, which we already went through. And then uh, uh, because ethical living, because we depend on people's validation, then ethical living, I think, becomes a part of that as well. In some sense, maybe not really practice, but then it's also useful in regards to developing calmness, right? If you have ethical living, then you reduce rumors, you reduce that, you reduce this, a lot of things that you can avoid. So that is also a part of it. Then of course, when it comes to practice, then comes studying, of course, the methods and the means. Then of course, another method would be discussing with friends, because sangha, again, dharma friends, becomes useful in that sense, because now you have uh, not one mind contemplating on a practice, you have two minds contemplating on a practice, three minds. The more minds you have in a room contemplating on practice, the better, the more results, the more answers you start to get, the more you can think about solutions, so on and so forth. So that is also there. Then clarifying questions, especially, I always say, I think last time I told Thupten the willing that teachers that come to the willing, You need to have them sign a contract where they say, where they will take on challenges from people when people start asking questions. We don't want teachers avoiding questions. We want teachers answering questions, right? So same thing there. Again, when it comes to teachers, then utilizing. I think there is this trend that has come out. I always say there's a big confusion between devotion and what is it? Obedience. And there's big trend nowadays in regards to seeing devotion and obedient as devotion. So therefore, oh, I need to be obedient. I cannot ask questions. I cannot do that. I cannot do this because I need to practice dharma, and for that I need to show devotion, and for that I need to be obedient. In reality, I think these two are complete different things. If you are a real learner, real student, real practitioner, then you utilize devotion through through all of the doubts that you come. Because you say, okay, the teacher is in front of me. I have the ability to ask questions. I have this doubt, and therefore I should ask the question. So therefore, expression of that also is a part of devotion. So especially in regards to teachers, clarifying your doubts and your questions with teachers, yeah, that is also uh, important. And then of course, another method of learning always comes from the past. I say, past experience is wisdom, and therefore reflecting on past experiences and utilizing these experiences to grow forward. Coming forward, that becomes important. Then understanding doubt as a natural part of growth, right? So so anyway, that is that. So now coming back to the point of shamatha. Shamatha, I think three things important that shamatha helps with. First one is developing concentration. Second one is mental stability, and third one is, I think, foundation. Because after shamatha, like I said, before vipassana, always practice shamatha, and after shamatha, always practice vipassana. So these two always go together, and shamatha becomes the foundation for vipassana. So therefore, if someone says, oh, you practice and come and practice vipassana, or you don't need shamatha, then that is BS in some ways. So yeah, coming back to the point, yeah, foundation shamatha sort of like is the foundation for vipassana. Now coming to uh, vipassana is again, like I said, vipassana and shamatha go like this. So vipassana builds on shamatha and then develops wisdom and leads to liberation. So the concept of practicing vipassana also comes in the progress, I think, of that. Now, in regards to shamatha, like I said, there are three different stages. Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, the beginner stage, the middle stage, and then of course the final stage. All three stages can utilize the 9 stages of concentration according to Asanga, right? So Asanga taught the 9 stages of concentration. So all stages can utilize these 9 points. Sorry. So in regards to the 9 points of the what do we say, progressive stages, um first one, I think this one sort of like repetition sort of thing, but then again, what do we say, consistency, right? Consistency is the means of practice. So the 9 stages basically performs sort of like outlines the practice components in regards to building what do we say, the definition of shamatha, right? So first stage, placing the mind, right? Putting the mind at a certain stage. Then of course, what do we say, um, uh, how do I translate this? So once you are placement, like concentration placement, then over again and again placement of that concentration. So sort of like continuous placement sort of thing. So that wouldn't be the second stage, because The reason these two are differentiated, placement and continuous placement, these two are differentiated is because placement and continuous placement works on different, what we say, different motivations, right? In order to placement to develop placement of the mind, you need one motivation, but that motivation is sort of like an inspiration motivation, right? Inspired. So first you need the inspiration. So the inspired motivation helps in placing the mind. Continuous placement works on a different level, which is what we say, which is once you see that placement helps, once you sit down and meditate, do breathing meditating, if once first is, oh, I want to become calm, I want to be relaxed, so now first I want to do, come up sort of like calmness meditation, so you breathe, and then once it comes down you see the result. So by seeing the result, then, oh, I want to achieve, liberation in regards to being able, or I want to achieve full empowerment in regards to being able to calm myself, then that one becomes a second sort of like second motivation, right? So these two motivation can change, so therefore there's difference between the two. So the second one, continuous placement. Then third one is repetition, right? Repetition is in regards to habituality. So because you see the benefit of it, and then you have the habit of being lazy, procrastinating, and not being able to do. So now you need to break through that habit. So now the motivation again changes. So now because you want to break through the habit, so then you repeat the placements, right? The placement of the mind. You repeat that practice over and over again. Then once you have achieved a certain point, when you reach a certain point where you are very comfortable with it, then uh, you don't need to force yourself, you don't need to push yourself. It's like achieving, what do we say, joyful effort sort of thing, right? So when you're comfortable and you're happy with it, then you're able to apply it anywhere necessary, anytime necessary. So therefore then comes closing or placement, I think. Yeah, closing or placement. Then comes taming, right? With that replacement, then comes the what do we say, the mind becoming tamed. So today you train the dog in a certain way today, yesterday, day before yesterday, continuous repetition of that one. Then one time then you say, oh, the dog is tamed. So the taming part comes. Then pacifying, of course, like I said, once you progress onto the path, then obstacles come. So pacifying is important. So pacifying mental obscuration when it comes to progressive placement, that one comes. Then of course complete perfection, and then comes single pointedness, where you are able to focus on single points. Then comes equanimity. So through the practice of the 9 stages, the end result is comes into equanimity. Okay. uh, when we talk about the 9 methods, I think what do we say, important points of the 9 methods, of course, development of the stages of concentration. But I think it's good if you can go deeper into the study of the 9 methods, because the 9 methods, there are causes, there are conditions, there are of course mundane abilities that you can achieve through the 9 pointed concentrations. We say your ability to see 100 yards, 200 yards, 300 yards, 600 yards, I think, things like that. Then also in regards to focus, your ability to focus on at a single time, the time span, I think it's sort of like you master time sort of thing. So today, if in 1 second I can think about one thing, you can achieve a mundane ability where you can actually focus on 10 things in 1 second. Then comes your ability to focus on 100 things in 1 second. So these abilities can be achieved by these different placements, especially in regards to the placement of the mind, closing placement, taming, pacifying. One of the things that are important when it comes to this is not to focus on the mundane abilities. The mundane abilities are explained there, but I think the mundane abilities are explained in the text because the mundane abilities are sort of like an inspiration sort of thing. So that one becomes an important point in what is it, in the practice. because every stage, if I give you a achievement every stage, then you feel like you have achieved something, and because you feel like you have achieved something, then the continuity happens, right? So there's maintainability is explained in that way. But then again, your ability to develop your concentration all the way to equanimity, because without our ability to see beyond what we see, think beyond what we can think right now, and utilize our ability beyond what we are utilizing right now, doesn't come with the foundation of placement, right? Doesn't come with the foundation. Without the foundation of your ability to concentrate, it doesn't come. So therefore, shamatha is helps in that way. uh, Equanimity comes in the sense through realization of the utilization of the wisdom that comes together with the practice of shamatha. So without wisdom, again, practice of shamatha cannot be something that can be achieved, right? Shamatha, most higher levels, the practice of shamatha comes in the utilization of the three principal aspects of the path. So before, of course, like I said, there's beginners and intermediate, and then of course higher stages of practice. Placement of the mind in beginner stage, always concentration on being able to calm the mind, being able to stabilize. So if anger comes, when fear comes, when anxiety comes, when depression comes, that's when you utilize the placement of the mind in order to calm yourself down. And then the different stages, the pacifying part also, in regards to obstacles, different obstacles come. So when you are angry, then a certain type of obstacle comes, which is our inability to control our actions. That's an obstacle. So when it comes to pacifying, then pacifying our inability to control our actions. When it comes to you know uh, when it comes to anger, when it comes to depression, when it comes to sadness as well, because we do have sort of like we do perform actions based on emotions, and these emotions are destructive emotions, and our actions tend to become very destructive through the emotions. So pacifying those, sort of thing. So this is again the stages in different levels. Now when it comes to practice of the bodhisattva's path, then your ability to continue the placements of the mind in regards to utilizing the perfections, that all can be all 10 different perfections together, combined with the three principal aspects of the path. Yeah, that one becomes the full on, and then continuing with the placement of the mind, continue placement of the mind, repetition, so on and so forth. This one becomes the practice of the way of the, what we say, shamatha, or of the way of the concentration, right? So like I said, basically it's not complicated in some sense. It's very, very, I think Asanga made it very easy and sort of like categorize it in very, very sort of like small, what do we say, easy detailed. So yeah, so that one mainly through that. Then comes, I think, the second practice is vipassana. The foundation of vipassana, establishing basic, what do we say, foundation is based on the foundation of the, what we say, shamatha, basic shamatha. Then maintaining mindfulness, of course, that becomes the essence of application of the vipassana practice. Then apply clear comprehension, right? So that one also becomes the foundation. Then I think in regards to the method, few different methods. Vipassana, I always say, is a little bit different, because Vipassana is more like your ability to see beyond what you already see. That's Vipassana, right? So our ability to see beyond what we already see, in the sense that our ability to see reality as unreal, our ability to see, what we say, true reality in some sense, because shamatha is utilizing conventional reality, and vipassana is understanding that conventional reality is conventional, that sort of thing. So there's a little bit difference in that sense, right? So for foundation of mindfulness, shamatha. Then body, feeling, mind, and mental object. Yeah, this is one method of it. Then the second method is contemplating of the three characteristics, right? We call it characteristics or something like that. That is in regards to impermanence, unsatisfactionness, and non-self, right? Non-self, there's a big debate in regards to what non-self is, because some, in some sense, non-self sort of like shows the, what do you say, the self, the inexistence of the self. um, I think this is also an important part of shamatha, is understanding, going, diving deep into what non-self is. So if you take non-self itself, then you can utilize the nine methods of developing shamatha to see how you can reach to the point of equanimity when it comes to non-self as well, right? So the placement of the practice of the nine stages, especially in regards to vipassana, uh, what do we say, shamatha has to go earlier, right? So if you want to develop non-self, be aware of what we say non-self, or what we call what we call the un unidentification of the true nature of the self. Yeah, so lack of non-self, in the sense that self doesn't exist, is not there, right? So seeing beyond, understanding that non-self is beyond seeing that the self does not exist, that one can become vipassana, the practice of vipassana. Does it make sense? Yeah. So our ability to, like, if I give you a good example, it would be like this. So if I'm sitting here and I'm looking at myself, and I look at my body, and I look at my senses, and I look at my mind, then I see an existing self, right? This is me, right? I like this, I don't like this, I think this, I don't think this, and I'm comfortable with this, and I'm not comfortable with this. So that is identification of self, right? So now comes equanimity, in the sense that, oh, the self does not exist, is merely labeled, as we use it, right? When you talk about emptiness, Kyabje Lama Thupte Zopa Rinpoche always mentions merely labeled. So we use that concept. So we say, well, the self is merely labeled because I have a certain appearance, I have a certain like and dislike, and therefore I can be differentiated from others, and therefore I'm merely labeled. Other than that, the mind is clear and knowing. It's same as everyone's, but because the mind is subjected, even though the true nature of the mind is clear and knowing, the, what we say, the contemporary subjection of the mind is based on how I perceive, how I think, what I've been, what my experiences are. So now all the labeling starts to happen, and then now you identify yourself. Now, once you have identified a self, now the difference between the identification of the existence of the self, and then the partition between those two, in understanding that is, that itself is also merely labeled. So even when it comes to emptiness, the view of the emptiness is also becomes different. So now my ability to see beyond what the self is, right, or the existence of the what do you say, um, uh, um, conventional self is, right, to my ability to see beyond the ability to, what is it, my ability to see beyond what the um, um, conventional self is, exists in the form of my ability to see the self in its own sense, beyond the wisdom side of analyzing the self in our daily life, right? So now you depart, once you have formulated the self and the existence of the self. Oh, I'm this. I'm Charok based on this and this and this and this and this and this. Now you take away all of those labeling, all of those side effects, all of those, this and that and this, how you define yourself different from all of others. You take all of this away, and you are left with at a certain point, you are left with something that is not different from anything else. Yeah. So I take away my appearance, which is merely labeled because I have a bigger nose and I have a bigger eye and I have a bigger forehead or whatever it may be. So I take away all of those labels. Then I take away my body. My body is small and my body is that and my body is able to do this and unable to do that. I take away all of those labels. Now, once I take away all of this, then at the end of the day, you see reality on a conventional level. Then you see, oh, I'm a being in samsara, which I cannot take away anything else from, right? Oh, my mind is clear and understanding. Now, again, what am I going to take away from that? Clear and understanding, right? Whole definition exists in its own side in there. So now I have one form of conventional existence, but is no different from anything else or anyone else or any sentient being other than myself. It's no difference. The similarity, the point of what we say, the equality sort of comes there. That I'm no different. I'm in samsara. I think real practitioner when they end the shamatha meditation, they come to a point where they say, "Oh, I'm a being, in samsara, suffering, and most of my suffering is because of the three. What is it? The three poisons. Yeah, and that also root cause is through ignorance. And then I see myself suffering. But then, because I'm suffering and I'm no different from anyone, therefore the equality happens there. I look at my mind has the potential because it's clear and knowing. At the end of the day, when I take away all the labeling and this and that and all of those things, then it's clear and knowing at its core, its essence. So, because it's clear and knowing, and therefore I cannot differentiate my mind from the Buddha mind. Yeah, the Buddha mind started off from the essence of clear and knowing. The ability to achieve enlightenment comes from clear and knowing. Yeah, the definition of the mind itself, the essence of true ultimate realization comes from the definition of the mind itself. There's no differentiation in that. So how different am I from the Buddha himself? So now you start to utilize that point where you see the ultimate achievement and the ultimate suffering in the same way that it exists in the coordination of the mind and the body. Yeah. So now again, application of, for example, application of karma, yeah, exists in the form that I am at right now. There's no difference between that as well. So you see, at a point when you reach there, you can start to see that the fine line that we all exist in, where we all touch. No matter if you are a Buddha, no matter where if you are a hell being, right? There comes a point where everyone touches, the fine line where everyone touches, and that's, I think, where the real practice starts to happen. That's when you start to say, okay, now I have sort of like practice shamatha and I'm ready for vipassana. Now, vipassana is your ability to see beyond that, right? So through that, anyway, then of course, I think there are stages in vipassana as well when it comes to practice. The general stage or the lower stages, the feeling becomes an important part. Noticing pleasure, unpleasure, neutral sort of feeling, observing without attachment, being able to see things. I think vipassana is comes into play nowadays very frequently because of the application of these, right? Observing physical sensation, what do we say, noticing our movements, then scanning our body, of course, there, then being aware of the elements around you, the heat and the cold and so on, so things you feel, then noticing our own pleasure and unpleasant and sort of neutral states, and then observing without attachment, and then also watch how feelings arise and go away. So these things are very, people are like, oh, okay, this is a method to really go into. But then, because the goal is not to see beyond, therefore I think the real vipassana practice is not there. It's sort of like a general utilization of the method to practice vipassana, but not real vipassana, right? So anyway, so through that, then of course, observing our mental state, then when we look at our mind, thoughts arising, disappearing, so that also becomes sort of like a I think there's many different categories when it comes to that. For example, feeling and the mind, and then the mental object, so on and so forth. So these on these basis, then you start noticing these things, right? So then when it comes to mental objects, then comes what we say, observing the five hindrances. Yeah, noticing the seven factors of what we say, enlightenment. And then of course, I think the main support for all of this, to be able to see beyond, is to realize true nature, which is of course practice of the Four Noble Truths, and then also the three principal aspects of the path. So that becomes the real, I think, what we say, the real, what we say, practice of Vipassana. So first stage, I would say body and feeling, for example, right? So being able to absorb body and feeling, and utilizing your, so once you, like I said, that stage, that what we say, that equanimity stage, right? So once you have reached that equanimity stage, you start to see things differently. So now absorbing the body, you start to see the body in a different sense. Absorbing feelings, you start to see feelings in a different sense. So now you see beyond the feeling that you have already seen, right? So that would be there. Then comes the middle practice, which would be in regards to the mind, right? So now you look at the mind, and then comes then comes, I think, the highest stage, especially in regards to the utilization of the three principal aspects of the path. Together with that utilization, then vipassana in regards to mental objects. So like I said, observing the five hindrances, one, then the seven stages of enlightenment, the second, and then of course utilization of contemplation, which is contemplation on the Four Noble Truths and three principal aspects of the path. What time? Doing good. Anyone bored? A lot of the, what do you say, the repetition over and over. Then you know, we in Sarah evening debate class in the evening. Um, 1 year very pleasant, the other year very boring. And the reason is because the monitor changes, right? The disciplinary changes. So 1 year, disciplinary, everything is so short. Tuk, finish. Oh, so pleasant, everything finish. Then another year, another disciplinary comes, all over the place. Repetition over and over and over. Then we are all falling asleep like this. So anyway, I hope that's not happening. So yeah, so Vipassana, that is that. Then I think uh, when it comes to guideline of practice, always start with shamatha, then gradually introduce Vipassana. Uh, First stage of shamatha, like I explained earlier, that you can integrate with the first stage of vipassana. Then middle stage of shamatha, you can integrate with the middle stage of vipassana. Ultimate stage of shamatha, integration with ultimate stage of vipassana. The ultimate stage of vipassana is your ability to see the emptiness of emptiness, or beyond the view of emptiness. Okay, so that one, like I said, beyond. When it comes to vipassana, always when someone says vipassana, always think about something beyond what is already there. Yeah, beyond the practice, beyond our ability to see what is already there, beyond our ability to see what is here, what is reality, what is nature, what is the Four Noble Truths. So you being able to see beyond what is taught as the Four Noble Truth, that also can be vipassana. Your ability to see beyond what karma is also can be explained as vipassana. Your ability to see beyond what enlightenment is also can be a practice of vipassana. So vipassana, you can look at that, sort of like look it in that sort of thing. Between the two stages, you never rush. There's always consistency. There's always very gradual flow between the two. Some people, they cannot when they practice shamatha vipassana, shamatha vipassana, especially in the path and ground, because when you're going up in the path and ground, the practice is going to be like this, one after another. Then they cannot differentiate. They already so into the practice that they don't differentiate the two. Shamatha becomes vipassana, vipassana becomes shamatha, right? So that practice is also important. Then when it comes to practice, then don't force concentration. Force concentration is neither shamatha nor vipassana. Force concentration is, I think, the stages of practice before shamatha again. Then suppressing thoughts is another thing. Never suppress your thoughts when it comes to practice of shamatha and vipassana. As long as you set the right intention and the right motivation, no need to suppress any thought. Every thought has to be utilized, and not just utilized, but every thought has to be experimented on. Every thought has to be developed on. So development of that comes through never suppressing the thoughts that come up. Then, of course, again, when you talk about mundane abilities, then the expectation of results coming faster. This is something that we have always. That also something that we need to take care of. So not to expect quick results always. Of course, results like I said, sort of like differ based and different sort of like difference based on the motivation and based on the mindset. So if the mindset is ready, the mindset is on track, all the necessary equipments, then faster, right? But if you don't have the right equipments, the mind is not ready, the mind is not able to stabilize in certain forms, then it takes longer time. So this one is nature of the mind. So always that. Then supportive, when it comes to supportive practice, then regular timing. For a lot of people, regular timing becomes very important. Like I said, when we have certain chores to do, then the timing sometimes mismatch. So focusing on regular timing. If you are dependent on regular timing, then what supportive practices in regards to regular timing. Then consistent location. um, Once you have achieved vipassana, or once you have achieved the first stage of vipassana, then maybe changing location becomes the practice. But until then you're having a comfortable surrounding location, stage of so on and so forth. That's also important. So consistent location. Then proper posture as well. This one I think more method wise, right? I always think meditation. Of course, if your body is more consistent, balanced, not too relaxed, but then also not too, what do we say, unrelaxed. That one sort of like middle practice, right? So that one important in certain ways, but then uh, you have to be flexible because our body changes, right? Sometimes our body needs to be relaxed in order to focus, right? So sometimes if posture is too hard and too painful and too, you know s- lotus position is one thing. A lot of people have problem with lotus position. My feet is numb, I can't feel my feet, my back hurts, right? So if that is the thing, then your mind is always going to go to your feet, your numb feet and your back hurting. So then you can't really practice the stages, the 9 stages, or the three different stages of the vipassana. So what's the point, right? So always a comfort level, but not to the sense that you become lazy and you become what do we say, procrastinating. Yeah, so that is also important in regards to uh, there's one. Then of course, like I mentioned earlier, ethical living. Then I think one thing is when we are practicing, is very important to look for increased stability of the mind, because if you don't have results, then there's no point in continuing, or maybe there is something wrong in the practice. So always look for increased stability of the mind. Always look if there is increasement, maybe not every 5 minute or 10 minute, it doesn't happen that fast, but maybe like every week, every twice a week, 2 weeks, every 3 weeks, maybe even a month. So you look if there is increase in your stability of the mind or not. Then better awareness is also one thing. So that one you can do every day, because the more you do, the more awareness it doing, sort of like looking for better awareness itself is already a practice of awareness itself. So better awareness in your daily life, that's also something to look forward to. And then growing equanimity, right? So like I said, every time you practice, every day you practice the 9 stages, you tend to focus on a certain thing and look at the middle stage of the certain thing. Then you also start to see equanimity in things in that way as well. So whether every time you practice every day, at one stage at the end of the day, if you can actually see that equanimity or not. Then of course, application of the dharma, how much dharma are you, or dharma or the teachings of the Buddha are you applying in regards to the wisdom that you can, the wisdom that it is in the teaching. So how much wisdom are you applying from the teachings into your practice? So that's also something to look up towards, to be aware of, right? So these four things, every time you practice, keep these four things in the mind and see whether you are developing on that or not, right? So main thing in regards to that, then when it comes to setting the mind, then um, what do you say, uh, initially I think it's more about focus. So in the 9 stages, for example, if I keep you in the 9 stages, then it will be at the setting the mind, placement of the mind, it will be placing attention on the object. So every time you are sitting down and you are focusing, whether it be breath, whether it be object, whether it be solutions, whether it be problems, whatever it may be, initially placing attention on the first, you need an object, you need something to focus onto. So placing that, having that object is important. Then recognizing when the mind starts to uh, uh, starts to go around like wandering. So recognizing that, every time you have an object in the mind. So if I give you an example, it would be something like this, more advanced, but I sit down and I think, okay, today my shamatha practice is going to be on, let's say, uh, renunciation, for example. Renunciation is a lovely, lovely, lovely topic to really practice. So let's take renunciation for an example. So today I start my practice on shamatha on renunciation. So the first step of practice of renunciation is being able to, what we say, initially build attention on renunciation. So now I say, okay, renunciation. How do I stay focused on renunciation? And how do I not let my mind dwindle around, going all over the place, right? So this is the main thing. This is the object of the first what is it, placing of the mind. So renunciation can be developed through the knowledge, the wisdom, or can be dealt through, let's say, a book on renunciation. So I have a book on renunciation that explains what renunciation is. So I look at them, I look at the, what we say, the first I look at the definition of renunciation and I concentrate, okay, definition of renunciation. Now the second thing, if I say mind, for example, then I same thing, right? I focus on the definition of the mind, clear and knowing, right? So something like that. So staging that stage for single pointed concentration. Then after that, once you have staged that, then your mind starts to wonder, oh, renunciation, oh, samsara, oh, that, oh, beings, oh, yeah, go all over the place. So now I start to bring back, okay, renunciation, right? Same concept, bringing it back to that first what we say, that first focus that I have, right? I think it's easier, like I said, it's easier on object. So breath, if I have a candle, something like that, flickering the light, something like that, then it's easier to start with. But then main goal is to be able to focus on practices such as developing wisdom in regards to renunciation, bodhicitta, and the view of emptiness. Yeah. So now comes the second stage of shamatha, which is what we say, continuous placement, right? So now you are extending your period of concentration. So now today I'm able to focus on renunciation for 5 minutes before my mind dwindles around. So then I bring back my mind towards renunciation, and then I focus on renunciation again. right? Thinking about renunciation, the what renunciation is, where it comes from, why it's important, what are the definitions of renunciation, how renunciation is taught, what benefits I can get out of understanding renunciations, what are the, the what we say, the non-benefits of not knowing what renunciation is, so on and so forth. So now I start concentrating on that. Then my timing starts to grow slowly, yeah, based on interest. Yeah, so when you start developing that, then the timing starts to grow. So in the second stage, then slightly longer periods of attention, and what we say, um, there's of course going to be a lot of what we say, uh, um, interference, a lot of interference, but then still the continuity happens. Yeah, so that's continuity again. So longer periods, trying to aim for longer period and continue, and then beginning to recognize. So when it comes to distraction, there are there are physical, sort of like physical distractions. Then slowly the physical distractions start to disappear based on the concentration. So today I start, let's say today I'm just starting, I'm concentrating on vipassana. One second, one second. Sorry. Someone was knocking in the door. So first day, of course, the where was I? So concentration in regards to uh, yeah, so concentrations in regards to on the first day, if I'm starting, then most concentrations maybe just like now, disturbance here, there, these things become physical disturbance, can become a very, so slowly once you continue second stage, once you continue, then maybe it's less physical distractions. Now the sounds start to less matter, things like that matter less, and now it's more internal distraction, right? So now it's more about thoughts that are coming inside your mind. Yeah, people can be speaking and shouting and screaming outside, but that won't distract you anymore. Now your distraction is more mental. So what is the stages of distraction also begin to, you start to recognize more subtle distractions. So that distraction level, your continue practice is in regards to sort of like decrease that distraction, subtle distraction. So recognizing, decreasing, recognizing, decreasing those subtle distractions. Then comes what was it, sort of like patch placement or something like that, right? So uh, how do we say it? Um, the main concept of being able to uh, quickly notice when the mind wanders. So normally, on the first stage, your mind wanders, your thought is going all over the place. Yeah, today I start, and then first is renunciation goes to bodhicitta, then goes to view of emptiness, then goes here, then goes to my problems, then goes to my mind, then goes to my looks, then goes to what other people are saying. But then you start realize, oh, I was concentrating on renunciation, so going back. Now through the third stage, what happens is your mind, the awareness level, sort of like the awareness level becomes very strong, where you notice more quickly when your mind is starting to wander away. Yeah, so instead of taking a long time to get back and saying, oh, I was there, you immediately, when your mind starts to wander, immediately you're able to capture it and bring it back. So that, I think, more in regards to the third stage, quickly noticing when the mind starts to wander, then your ability to bring back that attention also, like I said, through the first and the second stages, because of your development on the third stages, these two things happen very quickly noticing your mind being distracted or wandering, then immediately right after that being able to bring it back to attention. Yeah, so this is the third stage. um, then the fourth stage, I think, then comes the fourth stage, where on the fourth stage we talk about what we say, close placement, right? So close placement, then objects or concentration, focal points, or wisdoms you're using in order to support the focal point, that becomes stronger, more clearer. So object become, the object of focus becomes more clear. Then fewer gross distractions. The level of gross distractions becomes less and less. Then stronger mindfulness development, right? So the fourth stage is based on that. Then taming the mind. The fifth stage is, I think, there is a yeah, the fifth one is taming the mind. In regards to taming the mind, then I think three aspects of the taming mind. Then slowly, because you are able to focus for a very long time, and your focus also more deeper and more stronger, more mindfulness, less gross distractions, so on and so forth. So now the joy starts to come. Yeah, the joy in what is a meditation starts to come, starts to arise. And through that joy, then appreciation of the mental discipline. So because you have worked on the first four stages of discipline, so now the appreciation, oh, okay, now it's really working. Now my mind is more focused, my mind is more tamed. So that appreciation starts to come. And then, of course, with that, like I said, because the mind goes, there's joy in all of that, and focus point is there, then the what is stability also starts to develop. Then comes, I think, pacifying the mind. When it comes to pacifying the mind, I would say, especially in regards to now, because like I said, the gross level is gone, so now the subtle level, the subtle level starts to happen. Yeah, so dealing with subtle dullness. So now, of course, when there is continuity, when the time also expands, when that is, then dullness also starts to come, because our ability to focus on something for a very long period is very, very sort of like nearly non-existent, because we are very, what do we say, short-term attention sort of seekers, right? So even now we already notice nowadays you have Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, then our hand always going few seconds already moving from page to page like this. So our attention span to be able to concentrate on something for more than 15 seconds is no more. It's going, it's gone, gone. So because our attention span works in that way, so dealing with subtle dullness in regards to that, because our dullness, our what we say, our um, laziness, or our attention, the lack of attention, that also. So pacifying, dealing with that subtle dullness in that sense, I think starts to arise. Then mind becomes more workable because of that practice, the six stages of the practice. Then your mind is now more in tune with the practice, and therefore it becomes a more use more you're more able to tune it in some way. So tuning the mind becomes more stable in that sense. Then longer periods of stability again, of course, after the sixth stage, I mean after the fifth stage, then the period of stability again arises more and more. Then complete perfection, pacification comes from the concept of eliminating subtle distraction. Subtle distraction, what do we say? In regards to subtle and gross distraction happens in different levels, I think, especially in regards to based of in regards to, how do we say, practice, what you are practicing on. The example that I gave, I think, is quite good. Gross distraction can be something like, the sound outside, the music, that this, being distracted by that. Then going subtle, then you are no more distracted by that, and you're going deeper into the mind, and then the mind works on that basis. Then you go even grosser, then it's not the mind, it's the senses. And then of course you go into tantric practice, then becomes the channel. Yeah, becomes the channel, and the essence is that becomes a distraction. Even when it comes to the sense of emptiness, when practicing emptiness in the subtle level, um, also, emptiness of the channel also becomes important, because there's, very, very, very small grasping attitudes exist in that pleasure, especially in pleasurable moments. The I, me, and my is already there. So anyway, subtle distraction. And then with that subtle distraction, or eliminating of subtle distraction, then of course stronger enthusiasm in the practice, and effort required. The effort required to get there is also, sort of like going down. Then on the eighth stage, I think this is more sort of general. You can experiment through your own practice. You can start something small like breath meditation and see these different stages in the breath meditation. So you start with that. So anyway, coming back to the eighth stage, then single pointed concentration effort then becomes after the joy and then eliminating the subtle what is it distraction, then comes effortless concentration begins, right? That's where the effortlessness comes. Then after the subtle elimination, then you need to eliminate the very, very, very subtle. I think that can be recognized as the channel, right? So very, very subtle attention. Then what do we say? Then also in regards to negating those subtle distractions, then comes also for that also a subtle what do we say effort, which I think in deeper practice is the view of emptiness, right? So that one what do you say? Thap, shut up. Don't need to be shut up. Thap, shut up. Yeah. So the wisdom comes through the view of emptiness, and the application is, of course, again compassion. So this becomes a very subtle effort. Then comes to the ninth stage where attainment of shamatha, perfect equanimity, complete mental, what do we say, ability, complete mental, sort of like, what do we say, um, subduance, right? So complete subduing of the mental part, the mind part. Then effortless stability whenever, whatever, no matter the distraction, no matter the sound, no matter inner feelings, no matter pain, no matter what, your ability to concentrate on something becomes effortless and becomes like this, right? So I say again, I would like to take Zobarimbuchi as an example, where no matter what it is, no matter how cold it is, no matter how hot it is, no matter where he is, no matter in what stage he is, no matter what kind of what do we say, what kind of sickness Rinpoche, what do we say, manifests, no matter what the situation, even I think even in regards to near Rinpoche's death, the practice, nothing can stop you. So that's the effortless stability you can achieve through the practice of shamatha. Uh, I think we are nearly time up. Yeah, I think we are. So I think I went beyond time again. But we stop here. We can go through the what do we say practice of what do we say the four stages of vipassana again. Not shamatha, vipassana. There's 9 stages of shamatha, but then we can go through the 4 stages of vipassana. Maybe next class. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I hope you enjoyed. I know today is a little bit long and a lot of things to talk about, but I think shamatha very important in that sense. And then, of course, on the last day, we'll talk more about it once we finish the vipassana. Then after that, then also only wisdom remains, application of wisdom. Yeah. To something shut up so yeah wisdom. So that will be the last one. Yeah. Then we finish our 1 month course. I hope you're doing your homeworks and I hope you're doing your workbook. I think there's a workbook this time also, right? Is there a workbook this time? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. Okay, fantastic. I hope you enjoy. Thank you so much. We continue next time, next week. Yeah. Sanjosim Jorim Boje, Maje Banam Jiguji, Jawanyamba Mebaya, Kone Konto Pewa, Jo, Tony Dawarim Boje, Maje Banam Jiguji, Jawanyamba Mebaya, Kone Konto Pewa. Thank you so much.